So let's talk a little bit about the current treatment indications, really with the idea of are we under treating? Because I think that that's the big question. So although this is borrowed from EASL, it really says in principle, if you have Hep B surface antigen, and detectable replication, that you should be a candidate for antiviral therapy. But when we look at how many people are actually treated, and this is the Global Hepatitis Report from 2024, remember there is always a little bit of a lag, so I don't have 2025 yet. Um, we can see clearly that of those that are infected, very few, and these are in million, actually get started on treatment. And one of the questions would be, is this because our guidelines don't really recommend treatment? And you can see from this that although there's not clear consensus across the big guidelines, which would be the AASLD IDSA, which was updated in 2025, the European guidelines in 2025, SABA, which stands for the Simplified American Guideline, 2022, and then the Chinese guidelines in 2020. I don't have 2022, I don't have a PASL on here. But all of them really line up to say about the same thing, which is if you are replicating at 2,000 or above 20,000, if you're looking at the AASLD guidelines, and your ALT is elevated, sometimes they define that twice the upper limit of normal or just elevated, and you have surface antigen, you should be considered for treatment. And pretty much all of the guidelines say that if you have cirrhosis and sometimes replication and sometimes no replication, that you again should be treated with antiviral therapy. But we know that this does clearly break down since people are not all being treated. And then the SABA guidelines bring in age here. All of the guidelines really bring in age. But the SABA guidelines bring in age very early to emphasize that age is just as important as replication and, inflammation as a surrogate of ALT. Now, why do we treat? Well, clearly we treat so that our patient lives longer, so to survive and have better quality of life by decreasing the risk of progression to cirrhosis and liver cancer, preventing transmission and preventing extrahepatic manifestations, and then also to prevent reactivation. And how do you treat? Well, most of us are going to treat for suppression, but the ideal optimal endpoint is surface antigen loss because that has the best association with long-term outcomes. And you can see these are our current antiviral therapies. We have three first-line treatments, four if you count pegylated interferon. So entecavir, tenofovir in the form of TAF and TDF are all very good at viral suppression, but they are not particularly good at surface antigen loss, with less than 5% of individuals losing surface antigen. And even in those that receive a finite course of pegylated interferon, it's a minority that has surface antigen loss. Now, we break down hepatitis B into phases, and this does add complexity to looking at your virus. And there is, stay tuned, because at EASL there was a conference or a mission to harmonize terminology. And so how we describe these phases is hopefully going to unify across all of the big societies, which includes the, SOL, APASL, EASL, ALE, AASLD, and others if they are interested. But right now, we still treat what we would describe as immune active hepatitis B. That's where surface antigen is positive. You may or may not have E antigen, and replication is elevated, and ALT is high. That's the standard green is go. We still do not recommend treating those that have lost surface antigen on antiviral therapy or spontaneously, or those who have inactive Hep B, which means that the Hep B DNA is very low or not detectable, with the exception of cirrhosis. And then there are a lot of green individuals where it is indeterminate. So we'll talk a little bit about the gray zone. And then our immune tolerant individuals, which we often define by age, but typically by high levels of replication and normal ALT. So the first question is, well, do our guidelines need to be expanded? And this is looking at the most recent AASLD EASL guideline, which shows that they already are expanded, but you have to read them so that, not that we aren't all reading our guidelines, But that the expansion is really in the fine print, not in the top line recommendation. And here, if you have an e antigen positive or e antigen negative individual who has less level of replication, so kind of driving down what the gray zone is, they start to bring in a conversation of shared decision making, which means that if your patient is very interested in antiviral therapy, you should be entertaining their desire, as opposed to those that are clearly meeting treatment guidelines, where you're going to encourage them to undergo treatment. Those that don't meet treatment guidelines but would like treatment are eligible for therapy. Now, let's go a little bit more into the gray zone. So the gray zone really is in two different places. This is where there's lots of replication, but minimally or normal liver enzymes. And that would not be immune tolerant. Here, your ALT is going to be abnormal, but not the 2 times upper of normal that are typically recommended. Or the opposite, your ALT is elevated, but your replication is below the level of what we would normally trigger treatment. And in that scenario, we often worry that there's another concomitant liver injury, like fatty liver disease or DILI or something else, and you want to be careful that you're not missing something. But these are the two categories where we would consider treatment, and we think of them as in this indeterminate phenotype. And here, if you look at the guidelines, and I'm pulling up the AASLD guidelines, but it's the same whether you're looking at APOSL, China, EASL, they start to concentrate on age. And we'll talk a little bit by that. But the simplified American guidelines say 30. The APOSL guidelines, I believe, also say 30, EASL 35, and AASLD 40. And then they also will bring in fibrosis. So if you're aging or you have developing fibrosis, even if you don't meet these traditional recommendations, treatment is probably in your best interest. And then they talk about shared decision making. And when we looked at the Hep B Research Network cohort, the most common phenotype of the gray zone is someone who has less replication but an increased ALT. And that does not mean that that's not from Hep B, but you do need to be careful and think about other alternatives in that scenario. Now, this is a small study and not particularly new one, but this is looking at why we concentrate on age. And you can see that in these individuals who had persistently, so on multiple occasions, normal ALT, either defined by the lab or defined by the strict recommendations of 25 and 35, that if you were young, under the age of 35, that the chance of having significant fibrosis on histology was really small. If you were my age or 50 and above, I'm well over 50, the chance of having concerning fibrosis or histology was over 50%, despite the fact that my ALT never was a surrogate for inflammation. And this is why the guidelines really say that aging with hepatitis B is probably not in your best interest, and treatment should be considered somewhere between that 30 to 40 year old threshold, so that we prevent changes in fibrosis that are going to not be picked up by the surrogate that we currently use for inflammation.